for 7/26. And we're up first with Tony DeMarco.
All right. Mowing's ongoing, ditch and culvert maintenance, sign maintenance, brush, site distance, had a lot of site distance issues this year. Some storm damage from some of the storms over the last couple of weeks, nothing major. Hot mix patching of roads is continuing. A lot of culvert and drainage work on County Route 7, 19, and 5 as part of highway reconstruction projects, most of which are next year's highway reconstruction projects. We completed 4.8 miles of hot in place recycling and paving on County Route 8 in the town of Gallatin, 2.6 miles of hot in place recycling on County Route 27 in the towns of Ghent and Chatham. That should be County Route 9 in the towns of Ghent and Chatham. Completed 1.8 miles of hot in place recycling and paving on County Route 15 in the town of Taconic. And we completed the installation of 2 concrete pads at the Kent Courthouse and 183 miles of center line and fog line striping on county roads and 24 miles of striping on town, city, and village roads. And we are currently sandblasting and painting snow plows.
So you said that was County Route 9 and again.
That's 9
I just
again,
wanted to make
yeah.
sure that was it.
It's the wrong work road number. No personnel update since last month, no new business. And a couple resolution requests. And the first one is to award the bid for snow sand, items number 1 and 2, as per the attached appendix A, for the period of October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023. To all the following vendors based on cost, length of haul, and passing an engineer review. That'd be A. Calaruso and Sons and Polaro Sand and Gravel. They're a little low on bidders this year.
What a disparity.
And motion in a second, all in favor?
Did we have a second? I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought Diane second.
No, I was asking a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second it. Then I have a question.
Okay, we'll go ahead.
That's
with
quite a
question first.
disparity.
Well, that's because item number 2, that's delivery to New Lebanon.
But even item number 1,
Yeah, it's a bit different. Yeah. Well, again, we usually have 3 or 4 different vendors. One of them didn't have a mining permit, current mining permit, so we had to reject it.
You get 2 like that, we're gonna draw as much as we could from Polaro first.
Well, Polaro, we gotta remember, is gonna be a further haul, so we gotta take that into account too. So, which is why we always award it to everybody anyways, because based on where we're hauling to.
How much further is Polaro?
I think they're up, Rensselaer County somewhere, I believe.
I could tell you, but I've forgotten the Wi-Fi passcode here. 401.
Columbia 401. Evans.
That's gonna add something to that.
Okay, they didn't like how
Yeah.
this was supposed to be leather.
No, that's why.
No.
So now you have a motion on the second round.
We have a motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
We ask you to try and get as much as you can cheaper.
And
Post and kill.
post and kill, anything. Next resolution request is to award the bid for cutting edges and assorted plow items as per the attached appendix B for the period of October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023 to Shimon Supply and Valk Manufacturing Company based on purchase order costs and timeliness of delivery at the time of need. And as you can see, some of those items, neither one of them bid on. So we'll have to either bid each one out, price search each one, or go off OGS if we can find them on OGS.
A lot of nobody was in.
Yeah, and again, we usually have, I think, 3 or 4
They don't
different.
want to commit to the price now, that's.
It's tough with the steel, absolutely. So,
All right. Any questions on that?
Move
I'll second it.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
and the last one's authorization to fill 1 vacant budgeted position of auto mechanic in the highway department at the 2022 grade 13 step 1 base salary of $47.39.
Say, hey, great news, we're sandblasting right now, you want a job?
Actually, the two kids that are sandblasting right now are doing a great job. They love it.
I've just seen the guy at Wax where he duct tapes himself all
Oh,
up,
yeah, yeah.
goes in there like he's
Nice
going
and
to
cool.
battle.
Nice and cool. No, these guys are actually battling over who got to do it because the hood is air conditioned.
Oh, you're treating
Yeah,
guys
and
right.
it's two newer guys and they're doing a great job.
Do we have a mechanic? Do you have a guy lined up?
I have a couple that have said they're interested. I thought I had one of my MEO ones that might have been interested, but he's not.
Yeah, because when we talked on
Yeah,
21,
yeah, he's decided he doesn't want to.
All right, I'll move it.
Who moved it?
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
That's all I got.
Do you know, Tony, off the top of your head, or can you get back to me, how much, CHIPS money have you, billed them for? When do you expect that payment?
Everything that we've done so far, will be submitted. The submission date is August 12th.
Okay.
And then I believe that comes with a September payout, if I remember correctly, end of September. As of right now, I had about 1.4 million left, so we've spent a few $1 million. Right now, the only big holdout I don't have back yet is County Route 9 in Ghent, because Colorado has not paid right yet. Other than that, all of the big projects have been completed. We're just waiting on some canceled checks.
Yeah, you always like to keep it up.
Yeah, the cutoff is the 9th of October
Okay.
for the canceled checks, and then we submit it that Friday, which is 12th.
All right.
You hearing anything on the trucks at all, or,
In terms of,
ahead of time at all, or any?
no, I know the two pickups that we ordered last year should be here within a week or two.
Brian, you're going out for gas jobs right now, is that what I read in the resolution? Yeah. I can't touch you.
The one, and I think we discussed it, the one that we bought this year, we fell right into, and we've had that for 2 months.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
wondering about.
Y'all heard?
Yeah, no, the other two pickups we're still waiting on, and as far as I know, we're still a year out on the cabin chassis
The cab
for the,
chassis, yeah.
for the two Western stars.
I didn't know if that got moved up.
No, so far, no. We're looking, I think the last time we checked for the loader, it was September or October of this year, so. And I think that's all we got outstanding in terms of what we've ordered this year.
That's good.
All right. Any other questions for Tony?
Tony, at the last meeting, I mentioned hazardous trees over 9.
Yes,
Took a picture of the pole number it's next to, if you'd like to.
okay,
I can email you.
sure, yep, absolutely. Yep, yeah, I don't
It's a
think,
widowmaker, but nice, they got forest crew might have them do it.
Okay.
Subcontract.
Okay, so there was power lines near it? Okay. All right, good deal. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
And up next is facilities.
Shotgun using fast.
Sure,
Yeah, I know. I got new great help now. So,
yes.
all right. So far, assisted the shredding truck, did some desk move, office repairs, and stuff at down 325. At the public safety building, we did some cleaned the parking lot, striped some of the lines, painted the curbs. DSS, we still have some ongoing the AC issue. So the portable units are working really good. Everyone's satisfied. So I think that was a good purchase on that. Nutrition, we had to snake the drains about 7 times in the last 3 weeks. We put a camera down there. Everything seems to be good. We think we got it isolated to they're using powdered laundry detergent. And we're thinking that may have gunked up the lines, but I think we still need to get back out there and scope it again.
It comes with a little cup, tell you how much to
Yes,
use.
yes.
Can't just dump the whole box in there.
Yeah. So that's what we're thinking, but it's it's got me flustered out there. It's like every 3 days. So we stopped using that area and we're using the other bathrooms and seeing how long this is gonna take.
We can build a new one.
What's that?
We could build a
Yeah.
Are those AC units, those are 220?
Yeah.
So you had a wire.
Yeah, the DSS one, those ones were 2-3 tons. So, but it wasn't that bad. The courthouse was the hard one.
To get up there.
Yeah, well, no, that one I bought 2.5 tons for the court,
Okay.
because that way I could use 12 gauge
Right.
wire, and I already had some outlets there. Just had to swap the breakers in the panel. So, but it was just a crazy setup, and the guy did a heck of a job setting it up. Has the marble railing in front of the window. So we had to like build this huge box in front of the window. So when it's there, they're like, well, can we take that? I was like, no,
Yeah.
let's just let it sit there for a while. Because it came out good, but it was a pain because it's a 16-inch duct, to get rid of the heat. So yeah,
When's the DSS for night stuff? After they're relatively quiet,
yeah.
They're
They're not bad, and the people are happy. It cools that room down pretty quick. So
better than sweating.
Yeah.
Actually complained it was too cool.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe it. You always had those.
yeah,
It was good to hear.
Right, yeah.
yeah, I know, right? Let's see here. The sewer line, we're just doing our regular weekly sewer maintenance on it. Airport repair, we had to repair a hangar door, replace the windsocks, and did some roof repair. Over at 560, the central, the project is underway. We got Colette Mechanicals there putting the boilers in. And then this coming Thursday, Brownell Electric is going to start running controls. Then we have a meeting coming up about the windows. So that's coming up soon. And let's see here. And then right now, just waiting. Over at the courthouse, got someone filling the cracks, and we're gonna stripe and seal the parking lot coming up. So just got to coordinate that with the church and the court system.
What do you figure, 1 day, 2 days was probably?
It'll probably be 2 because of the striping. So I figure I'll call the church and tell them we're gonna block it off for the weekend.
Right.
No one use it. He told me he's probably gonna do about 3 days of crack filling. Right now they're starting like that 4:30 every night now.
Right.
So
So it's not tying them up too bad.
no, it'll be 1 weekend
Right.
to close it down. That's all. So I told him just give me 2 weeks so I can tell the church
Right.
not to let anyone park. So, this looks like it's old personal update, but it's basically current. 1 employee did resign. I still got 3 employees out on FMLA, and 1's due to go out soon.
Brian. What's going on, Brian?
Oh, heading down? No, they're working. So,
Oh, you mean as far as the
Whittier.
Whittier?
Yeah.
So that's already been ordered. So again, keep in mind there was a 12-week lead time as far as getting the equipment. So right now they're still on schedule for getting it installed, but it has been. Every so often I do contact the design engineer just to see that nothing's changed.
Who was that?
Pat Prendergast. And I've also been in contact with Jamie McCagg, the excavator. He's actually going to install. And he also confirmed that it's.
And it's gonna do the trick.
Yeah, right now, I mean, we've been pumping those out, we did it once.
Once,
Most of the
like 2.
accumulation that we're seeing right now has been grease accumulation, which is not that uncommon. We're lucky, it's actually been pretty well concealed to those pump station. And we are getting, from time
We
to
did,
time,
I
we are
think,
getting some
part
rags.
of a mop head got down
Mop
to
head, yeah.
number 6, but it's making its way. It made its way through 2 pumps, so
Yeah, that
we got it off a float. So
So far,
But-
if everything's working well, we ran into an issue with, during a power outage where there was a pump running consistently, and what was taking place is actually it was drawing the water down too low, and therefore it grabbed some of the material and was sending it downstream to some of the other pump stations. And that's where that mop head
Yeah.
issue came into play. But generally speaking, it's been contained within that first
Was
place.
it just the float switch?
Put a sign, no mom has.
It was a power
Yeah.
outage, and what had taken
Gloves.
place is, it was running for a little bit, and, one of the float switches did go bad, and so they.
So, yeah.
Correct.
No.
And I do have a resolution if, anyone has any questions.
Thank you for that update, Ray and Brian.
So, which is a resolution to purchase a 2023 Ford F-350 Super Cab, gas pickup with utility body and snowplow equipment, to be purchased at a cost not to exceed $65,000. The funds were budgeted, in our equipment line. This will replace, 2008 pickup truck.
Can we get it this year?
We're gonna try.
Is it
They giving you an
2000?
ETA or
What's
are
that?
they giving you any estimated?
Joe talked to Mike. I think it's still out there. They have no estimate on when it's gonna come in. Like I said, we're trying to, see if the plow and, still pricing it right now, because that's all we budgeted.
Right.
So Mike was looking at it, it's like, it's gonna be tough.
I was
So,
gonna say, that's, that.
yeah, so we'll probably end up getting the truck and then luckily we have enough plow vehicles right now. This will be a helper, in case something goes down. So,
Is the 08 worth anything?
what's that?
What kind of shape is the?
No,
08?
that I think that's the one that we had at the jail, and we had to actually put the built the box on the back of it.
Okay.
So we got rid of that, and then we transferred another truck over there from what we had. So
Only needs one.
they were one of the ones from the highway, from
Right.
so which worked good. Yeah, they were good trucks for a couple of years. We got good life out of them.
Right.
So they're nice to put over there because they do help out plowing. So like I said,
You want the super cab, you want it that big.
Actually, that's not supposed to, I'll have to talk to Mike. It wasn't supposed to be the super cab.
I was just kind of,
Yeah, because we wanted a regular pickup with just the utility.
yeah.
Is that
So,
really the stainless utility body that you tried to go after last year, or?
no, we got that. That's already installed
Yeah.
right now. So,
Right, but are you gonna try a similar one with this, or?
yeah, we're gonna see how this is gonna work, and then put a sander in the back of it. Because then I have a utility truck for the summer. That's my problem. Like, my plow trucks that's why we were always getting those super cabs.
Right.
So,
But you don't need a super
no,
cab.
I'll have to update that.
I was just wondering about that. That's-
Yeah, no, I'm glad you caught that. I didn't really.
So.
Well, sometimes it might make it.
Well, he may be able to bring it in then at
Yeah.
65.
That's what we're
You
hoping.
might have one on the lot.
Yeah,
Those aren't as popular anymore.
Nobody's buying regular.
Just a
cabs that
regular
much
kit, because
anymore.
that's all I want, because it's short, we don't have a big beast in the parking
Yeah,
lot.
that's a big long.
Yeah.
truck. Yeah.
Exactly, so.
All right, we have a motion for that.
I just did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
I,
Brian, was it you that were requesting or interested in the batwing brush cutter for the airport, or is that's you? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else, anybody?
Thank you, Brian.
See it within this office.
Jolene, you're up.
He's my buddy there.
All right, I'm here.
Okay, projects that we're working on, we're still waiting for our comments back from DEC on our solid waste master plan. Food scrap program is going really well at all the stations. I submitted a grant through New York State DEC for the digester that we purchased. It would be a 75% reimbursement. So you'd be getting roughly $57,000 back on that purchase of $77,000. The Climate Carnival turned out really great. We had a wonderful turnout at the fairgrounds with over 50 vendors participating. Huge thank you to everyone. I mean, the list goes on and on. But Don Meltz, the fairgrounds, my staff, highway staff, county attorney, we had volunteers that came from other counties and from Massachusetts. and also all the talented residents that we had that participated in the Repair Cafe. It was a really great event, and I'm glad it's over for this year. So, but thank Shopify. So to address the needs of a lot of residents, a lot of requests for other forms of payments, and for various reasons, we can't do credit cards at all of our individual stations. We've been working with the Treasurer's Office and MSI to come up with a solution. So we are proposing, and there'll be a resolution to follow, to do Shopify, which is an e-commerce platform. And it allows us to be able to provide our county tags and our permits for recycling online to be purchased by various forms of payment. And the resident will get a receipt. We will get the location and provide them with a date that they can go to the transfer station of their choice and pick up the commodity that they purchased. The customer pays a 2.9% fee plus a 30-cent per keyed entry transaction to cover the invoices, and the county will pay $29 a month in order to access the service. And this is probably the cheapest way would go, because if we had to put DSL lines in at all the stations, put credit card readers, and then keep track of everything, it'd be probably 10 times that. So.
If anybody uses cash.
Yeah, well, we can't take cash, so we don't have the security for that. So we think this will be a win-win for the residents and for us. And it will, help us to be able to keep track of our inventories and commodities, and also provide a better service to our residents. So that resolution is to follow. And of course, we're working on our budgets, and I hope you guys all love me next month. So the first resolution that we have up, is the household hazardous waste. We'd like to have authorization requested for the chairman of the Board of Supervisors to award the hazardous waste collection to MXI. This is going to be a 2-year period contract for 2023 and 2024. There will be 2 collection days per year. Tentative timeframes will be spring and fall to be announced. And whereas MXI met all the requirements and were the overall lowest responsible bidder.
I'll move it.
Second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
And the next one is authorization to open the e-commerce account with Shopify. And whereas the cost to the consumer will be the additional 2.9 and 30-cent per keyed entry for the transaction, and will cost the county $29 a month to have access to the service.
I have a question.
Yes.
I understand this is for online, but if a person wants to use a credit card,
to do it at the station, but this gives them another option that they can order it even on their phone on the way to the station, or, and then we can have it ready for them at the station.
30 cents per key entry. I mean, if hand fists go in there and they type something incorrectly and have to delete, they're going to double the expense.
But it's all handled by Shopify.
And with the town clerks also.
That would be up to them. I mean, most people, what we're finding, if they use the clerks, they're going to continue to use the clerks. This is more for actually Airbnb and our summer residents, and, people that aren't already in the habit of going to the station or have their method of payment.
And usually if you do this through the clerk's office, they're still paying the fee anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's not like your normal credit card transaction.
They do make, they make a card reader for your phone.
But you have to have some kind of Wi-Fi service.
Yeah, you need
Some kind of
Wi-Fi service, and we
Need
barely,
Wi-Fi, but
yeah.
still make-
But if you have no cellular service and there's no phone service,
Yeah.
some of the stations are.
They're very remote.
Our guys might like fiber at the Chatham station. Let's put it out there. But what they would like is a 20-yard dumpster for the tires.
They're free store.
Free store too.
So this goes right into our account then, right?
Yeah. we'll have a separate bank account set up for this, through the treasurer's office that will monitor, and
So that
we
we
will
can see
reconcile.
those.
Yeah. Both our department and the treasurers will reconcile it.
Is the $29 a month, is that just a flat fee? It's not based upon a volume or anything?
No, it's just a flat fee.
I'll move it.
And do we have to enter into a contract with them or is
No.
it just month to month?
No, just month to month. We can cancel it at any time.
Jimmy moved it. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and if there's any,
Jolene, Tim had asked, what did we budget for the two race days last year, or next year?
we
For
budgeted
just next year.
75,000.
For 1 year.
And the state's just, are they still missing 1 year?
They're missing 2019, and we have not yet submitted this year because we have to wait till the open period in December.
But
So
they
it'll
did
be
catch
next-
up on some other.
Yeah. Yep.
Ray, I did get a complaint within the last few days, but it wasn't about the bridge. It was about the transfer stations not putting out redeeming goods for pickup
Oh,
and drop off. And Jolene responded very diplomatically and very well to what the county policy was involving us not being in the business of trying to run a free store at our satellite stations. Thank you, Jolene.
You're welcome.
but I actually think that's a good thing for somebody to do, and, you know, people
Exactly.
do those things, and I know,
Yeah.
you know, Tistria does that in New Lebanon, they just do it all on Facebook, you know, I'm gonna put this on the front porch and send out a message, and, you know, if people wanna do that, there's a way of doing that, but the county should be involved.
Yeah, you know, it's nice when you have someone who can be stewards, but we can't ask, you know, guys who are running around trying to make sure that everything's going in the right receptacle.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you. He's got a big thick package here for us.
Yeah, unfortunately. I actually have some additional information as well on one topic. So I'm just gonna hand out that information. Kelly, my apologies, I'll have to send you a copy of this. Ray has one, Ron, you have one as well, right?
Yeah, you gave me that one on the bridge.
Do you mind sharing?
Not at all.
So starting off with our highway projects and federal aid projects, so County Route 18, Fish and Game Road, so construction is to start in August as far as that is concerned. We did have the pre-construction meeting with New York State DOT. That went very well. So right now they are looking to actually do one of the culvert structures and get that in this year. So there will be road closures. So obviously we'll get together with 911 and make sure we get information out to the general public when those road closures are going to take place. With respect to bridges, I'd like to have a discussion with the committee with respect to Pleasant Vale Road. So last time we met, this was right after the bridge was closed. We actually had approached the CTAC, Columbia County Transportation Advisory Committee, as well as New York State DOT to see if there was a possibility of switching the Stuyvesant Falls Bridge, which is due to get constructed in 2025 or reconstructed in 2025, push that one off till potentially 2027, and then bring the Stall Bridge or Pleasant Vale Road Bridge in before that. And they had indicated that pending getting an updated cost estimate, that they would entertain that. I know that there's been further discussion based on information that I had sent out as far as overall cost, the fact of that bridge being closed for quite some time. What I wanted to do in the information that I handed out was just a pretty simple breakdown of what the costs are if we did it with the federal funding, what the impact would be to the county, as well as to the towns that it affects, as far as the town of Livingston and Claremont on the downtime of that as well. So first, I did confirm with two different consultants that we could do a one-lane bridge in that area based on the average daily trip generation that takes place down in that area. We're below 500 trips per day. So therefore, the county could, even if it is federally funded, we could go with a single-lane bridge. There are two options, either doing a steel girder with a concrete deck or replacing it with a truss bridge, okay? Yes.
Just a quick question, said below 500, wasn't that one study that said 687 cars?
We actually went out in the beginning.
Say that.
Yeah, so we actually, that is correct. But we did go back out in April prior to the closing and so forth, because we were looking to get this project done before the closure. We knew that we had to do something with it. So we actually went out and got updated trip generations. And we're actually down 350 is the daily trip generation that's taking place now. So it did change. That old one, I think, was close to 10 years ago, believe it or not. So we're actually trying to go out, as we know that we're getting projects that are coming to either funding or potential funding, we're trying to update our information as far as how many vehicles are heading over those structures. So that's something that we've been doing since March and April timeframe. So I do want to say that I do not want to replace that structure regardless of the funding. I don't want to replace it with another truss. I do want to go with a steel girder and concrete deck. The problem with the trusses is we are not equipped. We don't have the manpower and the overall equipment, if you would, as far as the ability of maintaining those. You have to wash those things down every year, and you have to be on a routine painting schedule as well. Because again, with those trusses, during the plowing operations, the sand and the salt get blown into those crevices inside the truss, and if they're not washed down every single year, they're going to deteriorate. And that's what we're finding with these truss bridges, is that even though you may actually not see it, and specifically with this bridge, last year there was an inspection done, and the pictures show solid areas as far as those stringers and those steel girders. This year, when that inspection was done, there are massive areas of sectional loss. So although on the surface it appears as though it's solid, that's just paint and rust behind it. You start tapping that, it just falls apart. And if you're not keeping up with it on an annual basis, you're going to continue to, unfortunately, prematurely lose those structures. So the recommendation is to go, regardless of the funding, to go with steel girder and concrete. All right. From a federal funding standpoint, if we go with federal funding, currently the bridge sits on two concrete abutments. Those concrete abutments sit on soil. They do not go down to rock, and there's no evidence of pile. So if they do get any type of federal funding, that would have to be dealt with. So we'd actually have to completely replace those abutments, even if we went with a single bridge. That is a requirement. And keep in mind, if you think of the Schoharie Creek flooding that took place and the washout, that's the reason that they want that to be done. Now, granted, this bridge has been there since 1910. Has not had any issues with respect to washouts or scouring or anything like that. Is in relatively decent condition. The abutments do need some help.
Now, you got right-of-way acquisition for the single lane. Why is that? Just for short-term work, or?
So right now that's a town roadway and it's a user road.
Right.
And since we are going in there and we're actually replacing the abutments, all right, we would actually have to obtain right-of-way as far as a right-of-way acquisition. Short-term for construction, but also long-term, because there currently is no right-of-way there regarding those
It wouldn't be
abutments.
much wider though.
Correct. It's not, but we would have to go ahead and we
Okay.
would have to obtain those. And that becomes an issue as it pertains to timing.
Right.
As we all know with many of the projects that we deal with, that's usually the hangup, is when we have to get that right-of-way acquisition. Because unless we go eminent domain out of the gate, we're at a bit of the mercy of those property owners, okay? If we went to steel girder, single lane, replace the abutments, single lane bridge would be an estimate of 3.5 million. With federal funding, we're responsible for 20% of that. So money out of pocket for the county would be $700,000. If we went to a two lane, it would jump up to $4 million. County share would be 800,000. We would still have that potential completion end date of 2025. That's if everything goes well, and that's if the right-of-way acquisitions also go well. There is a good possibility that that could be pushed back to 2026.
Doesn't seem like a lot extra for what you're gonna get.
Correct.
You're just gonna get a lot of speeding.
Correct. Exactly. And again, that's why single lane for that area makes sense, especially based on one of the approaches coming off of the Livingston side. 25. That's if everything goes well.
Well, I apologize for continuing to reference my own struggles But will single lane, doing new work on a single lane require traffic signals or any kind of other traffic safety?
The only thing we would need to do is, well, in actuality, one of the things that we would do with this is we would look at, it would be single lane, it would have to be posted as a single lane. We don't need to do any type of electronic signaling or anything like that. So it would be minimize the speed limit in that area, which it already is posted at 40. In addition to that, we would have to signal opportunity, we would have to sign it as a single lane bridge, which it was previously. We would try, right now, there's only again, single lane literally is 12 feet. That's all that's open between the two rails. The abutments, if we went to a local and we kept the abutments, we could actually stretch that out to make the travel way 14, if not 15 feet. So it would give a little bit more room. Still single lane,
People would
but
take advantage of that.
I'm not, I mean, again, possibility.
Farm
Possibility.
equipment would appreciate it.
Right, exactly. That's what I was concerned about, is understanding farmers go through there, and at 12 feet, that is very tight for farm equipment.
It is a.
Can't do that with a 12-foot mower.
It's a very it's a hairpin turn, couple ribs inside, so it's.
Yeah,
it's not
you
like
got it
you're flying across.
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah, as far as that approach, and that's why it is limited as far as the,
Yeah, 'cause
as far as speed limit. As an option, to consider, if it was a locally funded project, we would then go with a single lane, steel girder bridge. We would make repairs on the abutments. So the abutments are listed as being in poor to fair shape. There is some scour that needs to be taken care of. Normally, actually what's done is you put a full face along the entire area, and we may put some sheet piling in the stream bed itself to protect that area, since it's sitting on soil and not sitting on any piles. The projected cost estimate, and this is total project, so this is design fees, any right-of-way acquisitions or easements that are required, and that's consistent throughout. That total would be 2.5 million. And again, that means the full share of the 2.5 million would be coming out of the county coffers.
So the only advantage is the time.
Timeline, right. In speaking to two different consultants, they felt if we got started this fall, as far as design, that they could potentially, depending upon easements, could actually get it completed in 2023, but more likely the very beginning of 2024. Okay, the spring of 2024. So again, it's time versus money is the real issue.
And otherwise,
How much heat are the supervisors getting down there? A lot?
Little bit. I'm getting.
Yeah, there's been a fair amount of requests because it is such a long detour and it has been used by farm equipment and it's very difficult to go, I mean, the detour is.
It's a 10 mile.
It's a 10-mile deep. It is a 10-mile.
It's a big, long
Yeah.
run. I mean, an extra 2 additional years is gonna make a big difference on people. It's gonna affect a lot of people.
And we did look at, so the county does have a temporary bridge, a maybe bridge, which the county has used in the past. Unfortunately, it's not long enough for this particular span. We're limited to 75 or thereabouts. So we'd actually have to purchase additional sections. We would actually have to remove the existing structure because it's a truss bridge. The maybe bridge would not fit in between those two trusses. So we'd actually have to replace it, and we would have to purchase additional sections as well. And so again, we start getting into timing as part of that as well.
Now, doing it locally funded, we would not need a right-of-way acquisition.
Right now, I would not. Again, keep in mind, this is with an assumption that I can go in and repair those abutments
Right.
without major repairs or major replacements. Until we start getting into that, there would still need to be some easement.
Right.
Okay, and that would be temporary for construction purposes. Right now, I do not anticipate having to go in for the acquisitions. Again, most of that is the fact that it's driven by DOT. So again, if we're going to get that federal funding, DOT mandates that we go ahead and we
Like
do
what we
that.
went to on Fishing Game Road, that
Correct, exactly.
got into a lot of.
So with the county, since it's a user road, we can say that we're maintaining that existing structure, okay, or the ability of that roadway and not expanding upon its footprint. All right, so therefore, we would just need temporary easements.
Right.
We got any luck identifying funds, put towards this? I know we talked a little bit about it. It may not be, but it's ARPA funds, and maybe put some of that towards this bridge. Any idea if we may agree with that?
That is a possibility, I know.
Yeah.
There is fun.
There is funds, and that's, I don't mind, I'll let Jimmy run it if you want, but I mean, there is some you know, we ended up last year with pretty good fund balance. We did talk about taking some of that fund balance and doing some projects. And that's where, when we first started talking about this, I kind of thought maybe this is a project to do that on, you know. In all respect, I mean, Ray's got a good point that, well, let's save all the projects that can be used for federal aid for the federal aid project, you know. You know, and I did agree to push off the Stuyvesant Falls Bridge, but I don't like that idea. If we could move that back on schedule, that'd be good. The other part of that comes in, if Ray's talking about your 100-foot long bridge being $3.5 million, the Stuyvesant Falls Bridge could be $7 or $8 million. So, you know, maybe we need to take all the federal aid money we can get in the next few years and put it to that project. I don't know, but, you know,
We have money, you know, that we were talking about using for these bridges. I think we talked about 5 million.
Yeah, as much as 5 million, right? And that's, I mean, honestly,
we're
that's.
going to split that between buildings and bridges.
And buildings,
you know.
right, capital projects, looking at buildings and bridges as much as the potential of 5 million.
But we are up against, you know, wearing two hats, you know. That's what we do, you know. If we are up against trying to get as much bridge work as we could, you know, with that amount of money. That was the whole plan, to kind of use that to fill in these $700,000 and $800,000 numbers, you know, to be able to build, to do more.
When you push aside the federal money that they're giving and you say that you're gonna go ahead and do it, like you're gonna do it on your own, does that put a smear on the county for federal funds?
No, we will continue to use.
No,
that.
we'd actually, yeah, we would actually use that county funding either completely on the Stuyvesant Falls Bridge or
Okay.
another bridge. We would actually apply for another structure for that
We're
federal.
not
money.
walking away from federal aid. It's just which project do we get done with federal aid?
Okay,
You
I
know,
understand.
but
But if your abutments are floaters here, is this where can you go after brick money with this?
Potentially.
Resilient infrastructure?
Yeah, you could potentially do that. But again, we're continuing to try to get guidance from DOT as far as that funding. And as of yet, we keep getting promised that there's going to be a ton of money coming down the pipeline. But as of yet, there's not a lot of guidance associated with it.
and any of those things do slow the process down, you know, respectfully. So no matter what funding you add to it, you can slow the process down.
Yeah, federal funding, you know, again, it's great to have that federal funding, but it's especially with this respect to New York State DOT. And unfortunately, based on the region that we're in, which is Region 8, which means everything goes to Poughkeepsie, it tends to be a very slow process. I mean, we're seeing that on a lot of our roadway and bridge projects where they're just getting delayed because whether it be the fact of DOT not taking action, whether it's their review process. As a matter of fact, as an example, if you remember when I first came on in January, one of the first resolutions I had was accepting the grants for the 2 Bridge New York culvert projects. So that was in January. Last week, I obtained the first contract, not both, even though all the paperwork went in at the same time. I just received contracts on one of those from New York State DOT. It's just a very long process. And so anytime you're dealing with federal funding, again, if it was a limitation, and this is where I understand the pain of the local municipalities, if it was a posted bridge and you could limp along, that's one thing. But the fact that this is closed and that federal process can take an awfully long time and it's more likely to drag than to go smoothly, that's why
It's straining the
discussion.
local economy.
Ray, is there any way that we could see what we can do to speed up the DOT side of it? Because that then could put us into the locally funded, not locally, I mean
the federally funded.
yeah.
Well, again, so
I mean, being that this is such a long detour, you know,
Right.
it is vital. I mean, is there some way we can do that and still get that money? I mean, me personally, it's shown here at the end of, you know, early 2024, it's probably going to be maybe the end of 2024. If we kind of knew we can bring it in a year later, no later than that, and there was that kind of savings, yeah, I don't know. It's a big number to save.
yeah, no question. Obviously, you
I
know,
think you're more apt to be under budget schedule wise if we did it ourselves and if we do the federal aid process. That's the other thing. I mean, you know, Ray's saying here that if we did it ourselves, maybe it's 24. You might even get it done in 23. If you look at the other one, you're probably going to be 26.
Yeah.
You know,
And if we bump Stuyvesant, we were talking about putting $700,000 in the bridge to help the wait limit for next.
300, yeah, so 300,000. So we,
That would be saved by just don't fund it ourselves, because we wouldn't do that, we'd get back instead of 25, correct?
If we went to, I'm sorry,
Locally funded.
if it was
If we
locally
went-
funded, yeah, so the intent would be, because right now, actually, I just received, information from DOT on, Friday as far as the paperwork to get the Stuyvesant Falls Bridge potentially going. Now, I put that off to the side, knowing that we've been having this discussion.
So,
But that would make funding available for Stuyvesant to actually start the design process this fall. And we could get that in.
otherwise we'd have to put how much money up?
We would push Stuyvesant Falls out
Yeah.
to 2027 at the very earliest, and we'd have to make an investment of 300,000 to basically remove that, make repairs on
So you
Stuyvesant.
could pull that 300 off of this 2.5 and it brings us down a little bit.
Correct.
And out of that 2.5, it's really costing you 1.8 because you're gonna spend $700,000 or $800,000 of our money eventually.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Bring in a couple $100,000 or less because, you know, there's contingencies in there.
Correct, yeah, and I did grant, I do have contingencies, no question.
Okay. And I'd have to look at the locally funded.
Just to keep everything on schedule. I know it's gonna be an issue because, you know, like you said, it's gonna be 2026 for it's completed, the other funding. And that's just 3 years out. That's crazy for that kind of detail.
Do we earmark $1 million for ARPA for infrastructure?
You know, we did, and then we've also got this fund balance that we've got, you know, extra fund balance money,
Yeah.
but there's $1 million in ARPA that we haven't identified yet either.
Right. But we're not sure where we're going with some of that extra million, but we did identify, 5 million.
Right.
But that can't be used to match any other funds, right?
No.
ARPA cannot, yeah.
And
ARPA
do we
cannot.
still think we're going to get some infrastructure, or would that?
We continue to hear, every time we've had a CTAC meeting, a Columbia County Transportation Advisory Committee, we continue to hear about additional funding coming down the pipeline. And there was one comment, although, again, I take it with a grain of salt, where DOT said, you're going to have a hard time spending the money quick enough. There's going to be so much coming. But that being said, they have yet to come down, even though we keep hearing about it, they have yet to come down with true guidance of how they're going to make that disbursement.
And if we committed ourselves to funding this locally, and then the infrastructure money came along,
There are other bridges, I think.
There are many other bridges. Yeah, I have actually, I provided each one of you in the packet that
Right.
Kelly had sent out, my plan for the next 5 years. So we would, if we're not going to go for federal funding on this particular project, we would go ahead and seek federal funding on one of the other projects.
what I meant was that if we committed ourselves to the project, we got at least into the design phase, and then all of a sudden, infrastructure money came in, can you apply for infrastructure money on a project before it's begun?
You can, but that becomes a little difficult because we would have to then backtrack a little bit as far as some of the design reports that have to be done and different things of that nature. Because of the criteria that New York State DOT requires that federal,
You got to start.
as part of their federal program. Excuse me. All right, so there's a lot more work that needs to be done, even on the design aspect of it. Unfortunately.
I'm inclined to think we should go with it locally. And I'll tell you why, because I heard those residents in Copic Falls talk about a 2-mile detour as if it was the end,
Right.
the end of the world, and you're talking about a 10-mile detour.
Yeah.
With the price of gas, definitely.
Well, then do it at 16 miles an hour tractor.
That's right.
Price of
I would
diesel
just like
fuel.
to- If we can identify the funding, we not, you know, not gonna put us in a compromised position. I'd definitely like to make the most, consider moving forward with local.
And I'd second it.
And our third.
Are you making a legitimate
You
motion?
need 3, or you only?
I was the motion.
It was very quiet, so you need to speak up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to make a motion, we consider moving forward with a locally funded project as long as we can identify the funds without compromising our financing position.
And I'd second it.
And I'm not saying a
All in
word.
favor?
You can only third it on unofficial motion.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Do we have a vote though? All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed?
We finally got a bridge.
All right.
Not yet.
Maybe.
Right.
You just better hope it doesn't get washed out with a 100-year storm after people put those fragments into the ground.
So the next item would then be the Stuyvesant Falls Bridge. So if we are going to do this locally funded, that means I can push that Stuyvesant Falls Bridge back up to the timeframe it held, which would start the design process this year, this fall. And I do have that paperwork with DOT. And if that's the case, then I would not need to make the expenditure as far as roughly $300,000 in total cost to make that repair.
Okay.
And it would be anticipated that that construction would take place in 2025.
So are you
That's a long
ready
way
to
we are.
resolution off of this motion or?
So, correct. So that's what I was gonna, as long as that's okay with the
Yeah.
committee, then what I would recommend is that I take that particular motion off the agenda as far as moving forward with the design, professional service agreement, for Stuyvesant Falls Bridge.
Big seat back a little bit.
And we never did officially request this of CTAC, right? We brought this to them, but we were gonna come back with prices.
Correct. Yeah, they were not going to officially make the change until they had updated prices. Correct.
So they still haven't signed theirs.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, and I actually have all the paperwork. Like I say, I actually have the APP, which starts the process. I actually received that on Friday.
Because it does scare me what kind of numbers that might come in at, you know? And it also concerns me, I mean, I certainly supported trying to do something with Claremont Livingston Bridge because it's shut down and it's a big detour. And we're getting across our bridge right now with limited vehicles, but yet if that got shut down, you know,
Yeah, it'd be,
that'd be a tough one too.
Understood. Yeah.
There's no place in Stuyvesant that would be a shorter crossing.
Not really, that's about the narrowest part of the creek. We talked about a couple things there, but,
Well, maybe if you get federal money there, you can have an observation deck. It's
No,
beautiful.
you know, just
I mean,
it is a
nice
nice
spot.
move it up creek a little bit, put a new bridge where this is, and then move that one up so pedestrians can walk.
The problem is when you destroy that old bridge, that's an historical bridge. You gotta keep that bridge.
You're gonna have to replace it with something that's historically correct,
Right.
yes, because it is listed on the regs.
So
That
building,
one's not so easy.
just move the girders over. They don't have to move there, right?
Easily said.
Actually, they followed it all up, 1990.
Yeah, when they made the repairs. So leads me into local bridge program. So I provided each one of you a copy of that local bridge program. That's to provide you a snapshot of the projects that I would like to take on, but also as importantly, as we're heading into budget time, and I know that we've been discussing potential funding, local funding as far as between bridge projects and building projects. It also provides you what that anticipated impact is going to be to the county. So keep in mind, when you're looking at that list, that first item that I had on the list had the Pleasant Vale Road Bridge being a federally funded project. So I will need to make an adjustment and we'll do so, okay, as far as that financial impact. Because again, if we were able to receive all of the funding that's been or will be requested, without that change to Pleasant Vale, it was still $5.5 million out of pocket for the county. Right. Okay. But we'll adjust it accordingly. As far as other engineering items, the Commerce Center wastewater conveyance system. So EFC has formally approved the funding of the Grandin Eddy Drive pump station. So that's very good news, as well as the fact that we're heading towards closing on the actual funding of that. So that should be taking place within the next month. Greenport Transfer Station top load building. So there's a redesign that I'm currently completed. The redesign is off to the contractor for pricing. So as the building's been built, keep in mind, this project was put out to bid, was programmed, put out to bid towards the middle, if I remember correctly, middle of last year. Contract was awarded prior to the end of last year. The contractor was actually made expenditures and actually purchased the building and put down payment on the building. As the building's been going up, it's been realized by the staff, the fact that in order to make it properly work for them, they're going to need a push wall. And the issue is that was not in the original unfortunate design. It was not shown. The design plans, when that project went out to bid, the contractor is doing exactly what the plans show, which is to build the building and so forth. But the plans never provided for a lot of detail as far as cross sections. And I think that that's obviously the reason that the staff didn't realize how it was going to operate, and I don't think it was ever explained. And so unfortunately,
it wasn't a grade issue in the back.
the grades, that's not based on
What?
the tractor trailers and the intent, that's not the best place for that. Okay, from a grade standpoint.
I get you.
Okay. Right now there's a 7-foot high retaining wall that's there. The tractor trailers themselves are 13 feet in overall height. So again, there's an issue there. Plus, when the project was originally put out to bid, and that floor elevation was set. We actually had to make a change during construction because there was going to be a 30-inch drop off within 10 feet from the building to the existing pavement. So we had to make an adjustment there as well. So again, I've made a design for the push wall. And right now I'm waiting for that cost to come back.
Ready to go back on that 30-inch discrepancy. I mean, whose fault was that? Not that I'm looking to blame it, but
That to me is the engineer. I mean, there's no way that somebody should have missed that. And I don't know what the original contract with them was, but
what did that cost us?
well, luckily enough, that hasn't cost us, other than my time, that change didn't cost.
We caught that.
We caught that early on, so that didn't cost the county anything. This particular change is going to cost the county. It would have been nice to know, obviously. It could have been dealt with. It may have been dealt with differently as far as the actual location and so forth as well. That being said, a push wall would have had to been designed anyway, and we would have had an expenditure. My concern is the fact that it was never walked through during the programming stage. It was never walked through with the staff to show them how this is going to work. A simple cross section, which wouldn't have been much. I mean, I did it for
Yeah, right.
Jolene and her folks with my handwriting, just to show them how it's going to operate. And the fact that that wasn't done during all of that program is unfortunate, because it wouldn't have taken much of an effort to do that.
What do you?
And it should have been done.
This cost overrun's gonna run us, just,
I would anticipate you're probably looking at about $70,000.
Is there some of this being covered by grant, right? Is that over something that can be covered with a grant or partial?
I mean, I put a buffer in that grant when I wrote it,
So, yeah, probably.
most of it.
wow, okay. I think I'm reading between the lines, okay.
We're getting what we need over there, though, that's.
Courthouse courtroom. So looking at the potential of supplemental air conditioning in the 2 courtrooms in the courthouse. Brian's been getting pretty consistent complaints through one of the courtrooms, the larger of the 2 courtrooms, of the inability of that existing system to keep up with the demand as far as cooling capacity. It hasn't been an issue with heating, but it's been a problem with cooling. And we actually met with a design professional to take a look at that area and got some additional information from the Office of Courts. And they're actually putting as many as 120 people into the large court, which is a phenomenal number of people for that space. And obviously, so obviously, as more people are heading into this room, more latent heat given off, therefore the air conditioning is not able to keep up. So the intent is to build supplemental that could actually be utilized in case the existing system is down. And that's what prompted this whole discussion, was the fact that Brian had run into a problem with obtaining materials, or parts, I should say, for one of the air conditioning units that had gone down. And ever since,
This year and last year, too.
yeah, it's happened multiple times. So
Right.
the fact that we understand that supply chain issues are going to continue, and they'll probably continue for a while, we're looking at supplemental heat. So this will be designed to stand alone, if need be.
You mean like a split system?
That's kind of what not a mini, we're actually going to be looking at 2 systems. One would be a mini split, similar to what's there now.
So it works for both?
Yeah, and then also looking at just a traditional air conditioning
Oh.
as well. Like I said, because most of the time it's not the issue with the actual heating, it's been the air conditioning. And if we did that, we're also looking to do it where it would be a stage system. So therefore, it would be utilizing the mini splits, which are more efficient, utilizing those. And again, if that temperature continues to climb, that would then kick in that second system. Okay? So I do have a resolution for the board to consider,
Right.
for those.
How big is that room? Is it the same size as this or is it bigger?
No, bigger. Yeah, I would say.
No, I don't think so.
I bet you, like the width wise will probably the same, a little bit, about like 15 feet maybe. That's a.
120 people in something this size.
But the ceiling height is.
The ceiling height is
Ceiling
taller.
height.
Ceiling height is much higher,
About,
yeah.
I would say 5 feet. Ceiling height.
And then the only other engineering item I have is the 911 center, just a reminder that that RFP is coming in next week, at the end of next week. So we've had quite a turnout from architects. We had the meeting with them on site where they could actually take a look at the facility. There was one addendum that went out to provide some additional clarification, as well as copies of the drawings of the existing facility. And I believe at this point, there have been 9 interested parties as far as the design process. With that, I'll go right into the resolution. So if it's okay, I would withdraw the first resolution regarding the professional service agreement for.
Motion to table that,
Motion.
Second.
all in favor.
Second resolution, regarding the courtroom air conditioning. A resolution is requested authorizing the chairman of Columbia County Board of Supervisors to execute a professional service agreement with CT Mail Associates in the amount not to exceed $21,700 for the design of the required supplemental air conditioning to serve 2 courtrooms at the county courthouse. To put it in context, rough estimate budgetary for the actual construction, it's anticipated that it's probably going to run about a $200,000 price tag.
Really?
Yeah.
Even using these things?
You don't want to see them either, you gotta remember that.
It's the aesthetics. A big issue is
See
the
'em here.
aesthetics.
Oh, so we gotta duck them then? Or?
We either duct them, we may have to hide them, place them into some
Because, I
wall
mean,
units.
otherwise, you're not talking that kind.
But it's the, that was made very
I
clear.
was actually looking at the 21,000. I was like, what?
Even now, we need to get in some seats and some HVAC software.
That'll be the next, that'll be budget.
21,000 is a lot for something to be done.
Makes me realize I gave away a lot.
I don't know.
Ray, who made theirs clear if they didn't want to see it?
Court system. The court system said they did not want to see the air conditioning.
We're gonna get any money from the court system for this?
Yes.
We are trying to get money from them. They have indicated that, again, depending upon how it's implemented and so forth, that they may find funding for it. So that is the.
It just sounds crazy, to be honest with
I
you.
know, they may find fun.
They're only gonna pursue funding if it's aesthetically pleasing.
Correct. That's
No.
the way it's been
They're
identified.
$500 a piece. No, because we're talking about adding a lot of tonnage, but still.
So one of the things that was made very clear during the discussions at the courtroom was the fact that the investments that the court system has put into that as well. They're trying to make that one of their prime sites.
That they're showing, this is the first courtroom they've done this sound system and really invested in. That's why they do want it to.
Be aesthetically pleasing
Yes.
because of the amount. What they did is they did a lot of sound deadening. And again, they did a nice job hiding it, so to speak. It does fit into that space very nicely, and it does work very well. And they also, in addition to the acoustic work that they had done, put a brand new sound system as well. So again, they're trying to use this as a showplace. So that's one of the reasons from an aesthetic standpoint that that's so critical to them, because they're actually wanting to bring in other court facilities from the state to take a look at this particular.
Plan on having
They're gonna charge admission?
We could, potentially we could.
Well, the new acoustics is gonna allow them to talk over like a window unit.
Well, therein lies the problem. Right now they have the portable units and
Yeah.
they don't like that.
It's a little too loud.
I'd like to see that.
You don't take a lot if you want to do that.
Right.
I would like to see what they bring to the table before we move on ours. I sincerely, that's $200,000. I mean, that's from 21.7 to 200,000.
Well, that's not design.
Yeah, it must not be that high. Can't be that.
But I don't think we can get to some firmer numbers until we contract with this engineer to do those prices, but I think it is fair, and I was gonna suggest this, right? If we contract with this firm to do this, can they give us some rough budget numbers on what it would be if we did it non-aesthetically pleasing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
versus
and
how much
again,
more we have to spend because,
You can paint that, right?
so,
I think you can buy them.
yeah, so that is part of it. They're actually looking at a couple options. So the proposal does include looking at two
before we
options.
went out to
One,
bid for a $200,000 project,
correct.
we would have those numbers that Kathy's asking.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that way, before going out to bid, we would hope to then have a commitment from the court system as far as any potential financing
That's
and
it,
funding.
that's
But
like-
in order,
I don't like the word thinker and might. It's like
well, again, I can't speak for them, so there was no formal commitment made.
I understand that, you know, they might be able to, it's like the peers, it appears who seems to.
What about Centrica?
Oh,
The ones that, the company we've been using for, is there any, yeah,
From an
is
efficiency standpoint,
there any way we can work that into it?
Yeah, less people.
Kathy also announced she had a lot of money for the poor people.
Yeah, I know, yeah, if you don't make it.
I'm just throwing it out there,
Right.
that is a possibility. At the end of the day,
He's probably factoring in the controls aspect of it too, where, you know, like I said, probably have something
Right.
to pick and choose from.
So you're trying to marry it to the controls.
Well, that's-
I think if you do that, then that becomes a
You want to
lot
be
more
independent.
money than
I'm
maybe.
sorry.
No, we want to be done now.
right,
I'm
right,
sorry.
But work in like stage two, you know.
correct.
What's the reason, you know, not too many years ago, we did multi-million-dollar renovation, what's the reason why it's bad? That should have been fixed back then, we'd be done.
Yeah, so there was a design that was incorporated as far as that. Actually, it was Ron that mentioned the fact that 10 years ago that courtroom didn't have air conditioning prior to that renovation.
Everybody's like, just I know.
Yeah, so taking a look at, one of the issues is the fact of the number of people that are going in, and speaking with, the engineers, that's a lot of folks for that room, and I don't believe that number of people within that room was anticipated. I think that's one of the biggest issues, is the number of people and the way that they're utilized.
What's the room actually rated for?
I don't know, I'd have to look back as far as the actual, like, from a fire code standpoint.
Yeah.
How would a room not be designed for AC with maximum?
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
That
for the
doesn't make
maximum
sense.
capacity of the room, right? How would you make that decision? You have to get your maximum capacity in it.
And it also could have been with the way the aesthetics, the units themselves, when you look at the pure tonnage of the amount of AC that the units are able to put out, the tonnage is there. What I've noticed being in the courtroom is that you're actually not getting the airflow. And again, you're looking at these fan units that actually do a nice job, but the problem is it's producing the amount of cooling. So it's cold enough right at the unit, but once you get 10 feet beyond the unit, you're not feeling any type of air. And so there are restrictions. And one of the things that was done as far as that original design was that there's heating, because again, one of the concerns is providing duplicity, if you would, on the heating side to make it more economical rather than running those units during very, very cold days. There's a heating coil. And whether that heating coil is providing a restriction that is not allowing that to be able to push that much air as far as volume and
So
velocity.
these guys can look at that.
Yes, these guys are looking at that to see what could be done, and then also looking at that.
Then a possible alternative. Is that the way we're gonna go after it, or they're just gonna go in and redesign another system?
No, they're looking at what's taking place there now with the existing system, if anything could be done with those, but then also looking at the supplemental as well.
We spent an awful lot of money, and that was the architect's dream, to do marble closures around these things, so
Right.
I think those things, ductless units are very sensitive to airflow, they really don't have the blowers, and then they close them and trap them, and they, by design specs, I mean, it says it's 24,000 BTUs, but do you get it because you can't do the airflow?
Once you start putting enclosures around it, you're inhibiting the
Sure.
airflow.
That grate probably 6 inches wide by probably, if I had to guess, some of those larger, like 5, or maybe 4 foot, and that's what you're.
I'd go along with this.
Put a 48-inch fan right next to it.
Still be interesting if Uniform Fire and Safety said they're only allowed 90 people.
And I'll take a look at that to see what the requirements are. as far
But
as
it's, I mean, we still have COVID in our area, I mean, it's not like.
We go for any more.
They used to have a 3-foot rule, they abolished it about a month and a half ago, because I think they want to speed the system.
Then after that,
To get the.
But at least that this, if we move forward with this, then that would
That
at
gives us
least
the next step.
provide us the information to make an informed decision. Again, as well as having further discussion with the court system as far as that fund. But other than that, it's gonna be pure speculation at this point.
If we move this, it still leaves the door open.
Correct.
Yeah, we're not going out to bid for anything yet. We're trying to get it designed. With those answers.
Okay, I'll take a stab at it.
Yeah.
So this is a bias. I've practiced law for 30-some years. You have to be able to hear what's going on in the courtroom. I'll move.
Our motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion and second, all in favor? Opposed?
okay. That was-
Moving right along.
Next resolution pertains to 560 Warren Street, asbestos, and lead material abatement. So as part of the project associated with the DMV and Realty Property and Treasurer's Office, it was recognized, and there was actually $75,000 budgeted into that project for the potential of asbestos abatement, which we recognized we would have to do. Based on the asbestos reporting though, it appears as though the asbestos materials and lead materials are isolated to the original bank, which is the DMV building. So we did go out for bid to go ahead and get that dealt with as part of the overall project. Keep in mind, National Grid wanted no part of the asbestos. We had to do this as a separate item, but we did budget it into the project as far as the 75,000. So we did go out for bid, advertised it. We did receive one bid in the amount of $56,400 from Two Brothers Contracting. So the resolution is requested authorizing the chairman to award and execute any not necessary documentation, enter into contract with Two Brothers Contractor of Westmoreland, New York, to complete lead and asbestos abatement associated with the energy facility improvement project at 560 Warren Street, the DMV and Realty Property, and North 6th Street offices, which is the Treasurer's Office. Project shall not exceed $56,400 and it is budgeted.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
With that being said, I'm also went back to Centrica because there are other openings that are they don't have any asbestos into it.
Okay.
They don't have any lead into it. And I went back to them for a potential change order because I felt that it was better if we utilize their subcontractors that are already going to be on site on some of the more critical areas like the doorways
Mostly because of timing.
and timing, right? So that way it reduces the potential downtime
Right.
as far as the DMV office and so forth. So there will be one other change order. However, I did go back to them. I beat them up saying, you guys created the budget. You know what my number is. And I know that number was going to be coming in over. Okay,
Good.
so
Good.
Just want to let you know that you will see another one next month. But it will be coming in under that 75 altogether. Next resolution is regarding the gutters at the Columbia County Airport. Resolution requesting chairman enter an award, execute an award for a contract of the South Hangar gutter replacement at the Columbia County Airport to the lowest responsible bidder to Paragon Roofing of Hudson in the amount of $105,040. Again, this particular project, there was $300,000 placed within the budget for this particular project as far as the roof replacement as a whole. After taking a closer look at the roof, the majority actually is not associated with the roof. It's actually the ice dam that's occurring at the gutters and the way that those gutters are hung because they're hung on the fascia. And that ice dam then has that ice go underneath the steel roof and then down the walls of the building.
But Ray,
itself.
that building's insulated, correct?
Correct, it is.
But usually ice damming is caused from,
Yeah.
it's melting up earlier,
Yeah,
you
but-
can heat out of that.
Correct, but
You
these,
sure
so
it's just a gutter?
it is, yeah. So what's taking place is that because of that that roof being so large, and because of the fact that it's a metal roof, so what's happening is that it's the heating and cooling that's constantly taking place. And once it gets to the gutter itself, what's happening is that's then pushing up underneath metal roofing, getting up underneath that roofing material, and then running down the outside walls. Because most of the damage that's occurring is actually right at that edge, right at that roof edge.
Is that a one-piece gutter? Or
It is, no, my apology, it is not one piece. Currently, it's not one piece, it's in
Is
sections.
it gonna be replaced with one?
No, it's going to be sections as well. We
How
are,
long is that?
I believe
Don't
it's
go
just
crazy.
over, I think it was just over 110 feet, if I remember correctly, maybe 120.
That gutter, the outer lip of it is actually above the roof. That's, yeah, that's the problem.
It's
Right.
not done right. That's-
Yes.
Correct. And so with the new gutter system, it's actually not going to necessarily be hung. It's actually going to have a return underneath that gets tucked up underneath the metal roofing itself.
Yeah, it's slipped up.
Correct. Correct.
So you're talking
Is there gonna be any
100 feet
heating
of gutter?
elements or?
Yes,
So 100,000.
That's what I just
Sorry?
kind of was
Are
looking
there
at.
gonna be any heating elements? or-
Yeah, so it does include including heating elements in each one of the downspouts as well. Correct. So the project includes not only gutters, it includes the downspouts. It actually, right now, they are all dumping down onto the ground adjacent to the buildings, which is causing erosion as well as settlement around the air conditioning units. So it's actually burying that with a header pipe that actually drains out to the daylight. So there were two bids that were
And
received
you said there's heating units in the gutter itself? or
in the downspouts.
Just as down.
In the downspouts, yeah. Each one of the downspouts, I believe that there are 5 on each side, 5 on the north side, 5 on the south side. It's the north side that we've been running into problems, which makes sense because obviously that's where that freeze thaw is constantly taking place.
Doesn't that seem expensive though, 100 foot of gutter for?
Well, no, there's 100 on the north side, there's 100 on the south side. There are 5 downspouts, each one of those being 28 feet in height. And then also there's the subsurface drainage that's being installed as well.
So it's a whole new gutter system,
Correct.
whole new. gutter.
But the 300,000 was for the roof.
Correct.
Will any of the roof panels be addressed with it?
Yeah, so we do have a contingency, so we're adding a roof coating onto, there's a section along the very rear of the building that they're going to be addressing as well as replacing some, it's mechanically fastened, so they're gonna be changing some of those mechanical fastenings as well.
How many other bidders bid on this?
One other bidder, that bid was, bear with me. Second bid was in the amount of 125,000.
Who was the second bidder?
Second bidder was Wayne Shaft out of the Albany area. They're actually
These
good
guys
guys.
that work at the airport.
And they did the hangar. They actually did the T hangars. Yeah. Yep, they did the T hangars at the airport previously.
So they're gonna be putting splices in these?
Correct. There's splice plates at each one of the gutter locations.
I don't know, just, that number just bugs me, but I guess that's what it is.
Well, when you look at,
A lot of the numbers we've seen tonight.
Sure.
right, well, one example, so there's
$4
a,
million on your bridge either, you know.
so at the
I
bottom.
agree, I'm not.
So just to give you an order of magnitude, okay, so at the bottom of the gutter, or excuse me, at the bottom of the downspout, there's a clean out for each one of these downspouts. So that way, if we have to snake it, we can. It's a PVC 8-inch unit. Each one of those, just materials, is $350.
Anything PVC today is just.
All right.
It's
Just as
construction.
long as the snow stops are good and we don't lose it all at once.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's better than the $300,000 we were gonna do and then still have a problem, so. Glad
Is
they
it
figured it out.
guaranteed? Is this?
It is warranted, yeah, it is warranted. Material, the labor is warranted for a year, and materials are, I believe it was 25 years as far as.
You gotta get to the first winter, see how good they did, right?
Right.
Can they get it done this year? Right, can they get it done?
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah, he indicated that he can get it done as far as that particular project, getting the materials and so forth, yeah.
I guess I'll move it. Was I loud enough there?
Yep, I heard you.
Thank you, Cal.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So next motion would be to award the bid for interior work and the replacement of the windows that were damaged due to the leaking of the roof that was taking place over the years. So again, the same two contractors bid on that particular project. Low bid was Paragon Roofing, the amount of $48,530. And for comparison,
How many windows?
uh,
The exist.
let's see, there's 2, 4, 6,
Interior finishes.
there are a total of 8 windows. And sheetrock and insulation along the exterior wall, and then sheetrock and insulation along the ceiling of the office space. I'm sorry?
Cheaper to build.
The second bid that was received was a total of $63,890 for comparison
I'll move
purposes.
this one too.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
That's gonna be fun at finance.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Do some money.
PJ's gonna.
Well, PJ said during that budget meeting that Ray's spending all the money. I didn't want to let him down.
That's right. No, you don't want to let him down.
I'll never say that.
That's right.
Next resolution is actually the county receiving money. So a little bit of good news. My apologies, there is an edit that I need to make on that. So the county actually received 3 grants through the FAA. The first one, which actually was already accepted, was what's known as the CURSA Act. That was in the amount of $23,000. The 2 that are before you this evening are ARPA funding. Now, this ARPA funding is directly from FAA, so this is not other ARPA funding. It is separate from the other ARPA funding that the county is
And
receiving.
can we use it the same way we could use our other?
Correct. What we're proposing to do is I'm trying to offset the purchase of that tractor and mower
With this?
with this. So again, keep in mind,
This is designed for maintenance.
we're utilizing this because, well, yeah, I'll get into that discussion, but this money can be utilized for offsetting operation maintenance costs, and that's what we're proposing to do. So the ARPA funding is actually in the amount of $59,000 even. The second one is what's known as the CARES Act, Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. Again, it can be utilized in a similar manner as far as operation and maintenance costs. And that amount is $21,058.75. So it's to accept both of those grants.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Always easier to take the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
See, if you bring stuff like
discussion
that,
there.
It gets you ready to get out.
Now for the strings.
Right.
Right. Now he's gonna spend it all.
Now that I've got it, now I want to spend it. So again, please keep it, so that money we're hoping to utilize to go ahead and offset those operation and maintenance costs that are taking place. Those operation and maintenance costs are already budgeted and already built into the budget and being expended. So what I'm hoping to do is when that money's coming in, that we reallocate that towards the purchase of a tractor and mower. So currently, there's been a real issue out at the airport and as well as the pistol range of trying to keep up with the grass and the fields up in that area. And it's really been doing a number on the mowers that we currently have, which are the flail mowers utilized along the roadside. The material up at the airport is really heavy, really thick, really dense, and it's been providing a lot of damage on those units. And not only is it damage to the units, which means we're not able to finish up the work at the airport, but obviously it takes away from the primary use, which is the roadside.
That else that he need a little bit more hay.
What's that?
That else that he need a little bit more hay to back.
I don't know, I've got a 15-foot battling on 160 horsepower, and it'll make that tractor bark a little bit, really nasty stuff, so. But hey, as long as someone's paying attention, that 20-foot span,
Right. Great. Yeah, so this will be more efficient as far as those wide open spaces. The other nice thing is with this particular piece of equipment, one of the things that we're looking to do in the future for next year is to purchase snow removal equipment, so we actually could use this during the winter as well.
This four-wheel drive then,
Correct.
cab, I guess.
Yes, it is cab, it is cab mounted, yeah.
So is it better to get a boom on it now then?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Would that replace?
Is it better to buy it with a boom? With bucket loader?
No, because if I buy it in the future, then I can use FAA funding for the purchase of that bucket.
Okay.
That's the intent. That's my theory behind it.
So the tires they put on R4s, or are they gonna run ag? Just, I didn't.
That big, eh?
I couldn't tell you.
All right, no big deal. I just was just discussion.
So the resolution is to authorize the purchase of a New Holland Model 2S 6.14 tractor and a Woods Model BW 20.61 rotary mower. And again, that's a 20-foot wide mower on the back of that unit. From Pine Plains Tractor and Equipment from Pine Plains at the cost of $141,319. And my apologies, it is 91 cents.
Is it 140 horse tractor to now? Is it 140 horse?
That's how they go.
That works out a lot of that. They keep it up high.
Yeah, you put a load.
Just get a shift line.
Is that's a bat wing, so it's gonna come up?
Correct. Yes, it is.
Is there an extended warranty?
Bark.
Did you look, did we look into an extended warranty just for discussion?
No, I did not. I did not look
I
at
just
it.
wondered. I'll move that, yes.
That motion, do we have a second? All in favor?
We will not see that until 2023. No surprise.
It's a Careville spare contract.
So Ray, just for conversation, I mean, most of this was all H-Fund money that we were planning to borrow, but you're not gonna spend it until you had some revenue here, but the money that we still, no, I'm sorry.
Because I'm utilizing that, plus I'm going to be utilizing some funds from that roof project.
From the roof project, so that.
Associated
money
with the
was
airport.
Budgeted to be borrowed. That
Correct.
happened, yeah.
Correct. And I did run that past Jim, whether utilizing it for a vehicle would impact that bonding,
'Cause we have a
whether it's
project,
termed,
yeah.
right. And he indicated that it would not.
How many acres we actually mow?
Boy, I don't know. I mean, I have to get back to you on that.
No, I just was wondering.
It's-
Mile one.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So, inside between each.
You're probably looking at,
Like 200 feet, right?
Yeah.
Those, cut off between the tank and the.
yeah, I didn't-
Yeah, you know, that's okay. I get it.
I can drop you. a quick
Careville
email.
spray that for $50 an acre once a year.
Is that
I don't know
okay?
how, everybody's gonna feel about that. They do have a crop duster up there, so maybe we can work out a
Did you
deal with
put
them.
a snow blower on it? Is that?
Yeah, so that was one of the things. So one of the things, one of the funding items that we're going for with FAA next year is snow removal equipment. So this could be fitted with a plow, it could be fitted with a bucket, that sort of thing. So the thought process is, in addition to the other equipment, like a new snow blower and a new loader, is additional equipment for this unit, so it could be utilized during the winter as well. Next item, final resolution, is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to submit 2 grant applications to the FAA under the Airport Improvement Program, the AIP, and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, known as the bill, for funding the environmental assessment, the EA, associated with terminal area expansion, which is potential for new hangars, taxi lanes, bulk hangars, snow removal equipment building, which is the SRA. The estimated cost of the project is $147,595. 90% of that is to be federally funded through these 2 grants in the amount of $132,835, leaving a share of $7,379 for the state and $7,381 for the county. And this was budgeted for 2022.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
and I've spent enough.
You spent,
That's it. Better be on the call on Friday. Yeah, he's been here Thursday.
It wasn't a criticism, it was a challenge.
Any other questions from the?
in light of that, I'll leave it.
So I'm currently still working on the overall master plan.
Still on target for that for September?
I am still targeting September. Yeah, one of the items that's
That around. Do that.
a little bit up in the air because actually it could have a big impact
Again,
on
Ray's
me
still talking.
would be
I don't know.
potential site for
I don't know what his year frame.
moving out towards the jail. There's an
Pretty
potential.
quickly spend.
I've got them, they're trying to build a campus out there. So one of the departments is looking. Thank you. You're right. I
You gotta take
couldn't
some.
remember the name that they were using. So the wellness center, the potential of the wellness center
Yeah.
moving out into that area.
I have
And if that actually happens, which it could be a good, thing, honestly, because I think that's a great concept as far as the
Yeah, I
wellness center. And that would free up additional space in 325, which would.
Any other
impact
questions
how
for
I-
Ray?
So that's the one area that I'm a little up in the air because I've had some
You need a motion,
discussions
make a motion.
with
I mean, as far as.
I'll second it. Motion and second, all in favor?
Thank you, Jim. I'll see you soon. I'll talk to you.
But the biggest thing is if I move more, the more space I move out of 325, I'm thinking about moving 610 in.
Thanks, Ray.
And I think, thank you. And I think I'll actually have, if both facilities, if healthcare consortium, office of the agent, and if, I forgot the name of the department, but the third floor moves out, because it would be the entire third floor. There's a lot of space in that area, in 325. Because it's not just the health consortium that would be moving out.
So who would be going to the wellness center?
Who's proposing this?
Mental health, so it would be mental health,
And I went out to,
which is actually almost universal.
that's a plan where my baby and.
And again, part of that is
For a project
if they do